Hello, I'm Kay McDonald, and welcome to the Power of Charms interview and podcast series. Today, I have a really great friend and lady. Her name is Colleen Biggs, and I'm so excited to share what a powerhouse she is with you. And we're going to pick her brain to find out the secrets that make her life tick the way she does make it tick, because it's amazing. Welcome, Colleen.
Oh, hi, Kay. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you and
Oh,
your audience. I'm so honored.
absolutely. I know they're going to love you. It's so interesting because Colleen and I know a lot of the same people. We are actually both here in Arizona. And we just crossed paths, gosh, in August, I guess. You did the LEAP conference. And Julie Jones, who I had just met, she invited me and I went, and it was just so inspiring. So thank you for that opportunity. I got to see Colleen in action.
Oh, thank you, Kay. It was a delightful 3 days for sure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So okay. So you do so many things. You are a peak performance coach. You're a speaker. You're an author of 3 books, one which is an international bestseller, and then you run Lead Up for Women. I
I
mean,
do. Yeah, I do.
how do you tell
In
us
fact,
how you make all this happen?
in fact, I've written more books than that, and most people
Oh,
don't know that because I don't publicize it too much. But I wrote a couple of journals that really downloaded to me during meditation and journaling time, that I needed to write these journals for women to be able to write their gratitudes every day. So I had those published on Amazon by myself. I just did self-publishing. I didn't have a lot of help other than someone putting them together. So when something comes to me and my intuition is pushing me, I know that for me, it is God speaking to me to tell me this is like my next assignment
hmm.
and this is what I need to do next. So everything I do in my life, I've been drawn to or pulled to by my intuition. And sometimes I get downloads and I don't want to do it.
Oh,
Meaning, now's not a good time, God. I'm really busy. I don't know how I'm going to make this work. But I know that when I heed the call, that everything always falls into place. So when you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're on your path of purpose, it just makes life that much easier.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's what you lead women to do. And what is your process if somebody comes to you and they want you to be their peak performance coach? What things do you ask them to get started?
You know, the women that I work with are driven. They have a fire underneath of them. They know that they're meant to do more.
Mhm.
They have a business that they're building. They may be scaling it to a higher level than what they're at now, or just launching it off the ground. And they just don't know how to put the pieces together. That's really where they're at. They're just looking for the clarity, for someone to be able to come in and really kind of pick apart everything they've done up to this point, their products, their services, their pricing, their structure, their funnel, how they have their sales funnel. And that's what I do really, really well, Kay. And it's not like I just started doing this when I became an entrepreneur, 4 years ago. I've been doing this for 22 years. So as I was in corporate America, my main skill that I built in my time in corporate America for all of those years was building businesses and launching businesses with entrepreneurs. And sometimes I would do 50 in a year. And, over those years, I had launched now over 340 businesses with female entrepreneurs and male entrepreneurs. Most of the time, 95% of the time, I worked with females. 5% of the time, I did work with males. But there was one thing I noticed throughout all of their journeys as becoming a business owner, was that they needed to get out of their own way.
Mm.
Every single one of us, including me, get in our own way. And we do that by self-doubt, lack of belief, what we call fear, false evidence appearing real because it doesn't really exist. We just make it up in our heads. We're so worried about success, or will we make it, or what will everyone else think if I fail, that most of us don't even try to take the leap. That's why the name of my conference was Leap. That's why the name of my program is a Leap, because you truly have to take a leap of faith
Mhm.
and just get past all the disbelief that you have to get to the point that you believe enough in yourself to know you can do it. And I look back in my life and I always say to everyone, like, if you just, had a goal where you wanted to make $500 this month, because of course you don't want to make that goal $10,000 this month, would you be able to make that 500? They say yes. And so, yeah, I agree, you probably would. Why wouldn't you set that at 10,000? Oh, there's no way I can make $10,000 a month. Well, why? So they don't believe it's possible. But when you have goals that you set, and they're digestible goals, they're smart goals, right? So now we're measuring them and you're held accountable to those every week, it's much easier to attain that goal. And then your mind is more open and that veil lifts off for you to find and see now the opportunities that are there that exist for you to be able to reach that goal. So I'm also, not I don't sit and just manifest. I don't sit and meditate for hours and manifest. I'm very much an action taker.
Yeah.
And that is generally the one piece that will take every person um from I would say mediocre. It'll just keep them there, it just enough, I guess, is just enough. When you want to be really successful, when you want to make an impact or a splash, and you want to really change the world and have the impact that you desire to have, you must be in action.
Mhm.
And sometimes you're taking action when it's not comfortable. And those are the scariest times for me
Sure.
when I take action. I mean, I left corporate America and had started Lead Up for Women with a plan and a goal and financial goals. But let me tell you, I didn't have any money coming in when it happened. And I just had to trust and believe in myself that I was going to be able to make it work no matter what, because failure wasn't an option for me.
Yeah, one of the things that I see you do very, very successfully too is you surround yourself with other women that are successful. And your whole philosophy is that you like lift and rise together. Education is a real big part of it. I know, seems like in the last couple of years here with this pandemic that women have gone back a little bit. I mean, we've made so much headway and owning our own businesses and running businesses, and then a lot of gals have had to go back into the home and educate their kids and have been taken out of the workforce. Are you seeing the backlash of that? Or maybe
Yes,
that's good because it creates
yeah.
new entrepreneurs.
So what I have seen in the thousands and tens and thousands of women that I'm surrounded with, what I have seen is those moms that have been forced out of corporate America, whether they lost their job or they were working remotely at home, realized how much they love their freedom. They realized how much they love doing what they want to do with their time. Now that the children are going back to school, most of them do not want to go back to the office. And many of them during that time decided, I don't want to wonder if I'm going to have a job tomorrow or not to help my family. I would prefer to just start my own business. So I've worked with a lot of women that have been in that situation and they've decided to start their own business and start making their own money. And, until you do the numbers, I'm a numbers girl. And until you do the numbers, you don't realize that it doesn't take the salary that you're making in corporate America for you to be able to pay your bills at home. So when you work out the numbers and really look at what it takes for you to pay the bills and strip things down to the minimal that you need for you to be able to do what you love and to be, to be happy with that, it's a life changer. We model for our children more than they listen to what we say. So
Mhm.
the only way women are going to change the future of the landscape of women in business, is for us to be modeling to our children differently. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, we all know
Right.
That's insanity. It doesn't work.
Doesn't
So
happen.
it's the only way to change the future is to change the way we model to our children today, whether they're adults or how we model to our grandchildren, and we've seen that in our own family change as my husband and I's careers have changed in what we do and how we've built our wealth. We've watched our kids all of a sudden decide, oh, wow, I can give myself permission to do that as well. And before they felt like they couldn't because
Mm.
that's what they were modeled.
It's like we're breeding a whole new world of entrepreneurs, because instead of like, I want to be a school teacher or a corporate executive or a fireman, it's like all of a sudden, well, I laugh, Colleen, because I've been an entrepreneur for like 40 years. And the fact that you can now earn a degree at college in entrepreneurship. I mean, I learned it through the School of Hard Knocks, but I think it's really so inspiring that people can come up with a great idea and do things on their own. And yeah, and then there's organizations like yours that give them the network and the tools that they need too. One of the things that I love, and I've joined your organization, Lead Up, because I was so inspired by the concept, by the conference, but is all the tools that you give everybody. You've got a magazine, you've got a podcast, you do lunch and learns. And I think you keep people engaged and you keep feeding them more information. Tell me about building that community and how you had that vision and what's on the horizon and all that stuff.
The vision looked a lot different when I started because I came from corporate America and I had found my voice and my path as a female in corporate America. And I had figured out how to negotiate for what I want. And I wanted that for other women because so many women have the opportunity to take seats at the table, but they don't. Or when they do take the seat, they stay silent. So I really wanted an organization, one, where women could tell everyone about them. I think that's an area we lack in. In my generation, Kay, possibly your generation, I believe that our parents, our moms, and our grandmoms taught us that if we do anything for ourselves, it's selfish. Most of the time, my mom didn't even eat dinner with the family; she ate last. Her grandmother taught her that. Her grandmother's grandmother taught her that. So if we do anything for ourselves, it's selfish. If we, speak up about how great we are and our skill sets and what we can do, and we talk about our brand, which is us, you just don't do that. You stay quiet. Well, men, they don't do that. They already know that if they want to get ahead, they will apply for a position if they barely think they're 15% qualified, and
like,
they'll
I'm
negotiate for a higher salary. Women won't even apply unless they think they are 90% qualified, and then they would never ask for a raise. More money than they would just be grateful to get what they got. So when you look at those statistics that are still real today, Kay, that tells me that women need a lot of confidence building. They need other women around them to support them. We all know that our network is our net worth. And you are the culmination of the 5 people you hang around the most. So I thought, well, what if I build a community that I can continue educating, but not just me? What if the members educated all the other members and we were able to grow and learn from each other, support each other, zero competition, meaning no judgment, no mean girls here. This is about us serious about growing ourselves, speaking up for ourselves in corporate America. And then I caught the eye of a lot of female entrepreneurs at that point. And so it started shifting. It was probably 80 corporate, 20 female entrepreneurs. I'm probably 80% female entrepreneurs, 20% corporate now, because the female entrepreneurs have said, hey, you have all these ways that I can promote myself. I can write an article in your magazine or 10 tips, and then you shout me out to, 29,000 people every issue, and I can be on your radio show, and you are going to promote me to all these countries. How do I keep getting in these spotlights that you have? That's what they need. And when working with all of the CEOs that I worked with over 20 some years, the main thing that made them successful was, one, believing in themselves that they could, because you have to know that you can and have the vision first before you can even attain it. And the second thing was they told everyone about them. They were never shy to
Mm.
tell them all about their business and what they were doing and why they should come to their business. Because I worked with a lot of brick and mortars back then. So you have a lease that's over your head, you know, that you have to pay every month. You have staff that you're hiring. So you have responsibilities of payroll and people you have to pay. So that seems to me like that seemed to me like the perfect marriage of putting together a community where you can shine yourself, you can tell everyone about you, you can educate the other members, because I don't do all the teaching. If you've noticed, if we look at everything that happens throughout the weeks, most of the time the members are doing all the workshops and all the master classes. I've done one 3-day event, you know, in a year where I taught for 3 days, but most of the time I teach for maybe 20 minutes at a lunch and learn, and then we're there to network. But our members are the ones that are writing articles in the magazine. They're the ones that are teaching on our podcast. So they're in the spotlight constantly. And for me, I needed to surround myself with strong women, and women that could also offer me opportunities and I could offer them opportunities. And I think, you know, women are more apt to want to do that, but there is this fear of competition. So the more that we help everyone with the confidence in themselves and the self-esteem and believing in themselves, and I feel like these credibility opportunities that I give them to do a lot of these things through their membership provide them the credibility for them to feel really good about themselves.
Mhm. Well, it's interesting because I joined back in August and I was reviewing the materials before we talked. I thought, "Ah, I better get busy. I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, I could do that." I've never seen, and I've belonged to many women's organizations, and I have never seen one that has this much support for the members. So,
There isn't one. And I researched and researched before I decided to launch this. And it was in launching this is how we're different, because we do, it's really about the members and spotlighting the members.
when did you launch this?
January of 2019.
Okay. So it's still
Yep,
relatively new. But now you
it is.
have what I want to say, hubs in Phoenix and in Chicago. Are there any other
Yeah, so
hubs
we have
or?
chapters. We were going to launch chapters in 2020. Obviously, that would have been a bad idea. So we held off on that. We launched the Lunch and Learn and brought that back in 2020 that we did in 2019. And then in 2021, we launched in May, Arizona, and Chicago, Illinois. She also does Wisconsin, which is next to her, as well as Indiana.
Mhm.
Then in November, we're launching Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah.
And then in December, we're launching South New Jersey and Philadelphia area. Now, with the pandemic, many of them are still meeting online. I
Sure.
also do one international one that we do once a month, which that will always stay online. It was created to be online because I have women all over the world that attend that one. That one is women from everywhere. So we will always do that one online. But the women that are doing chapters would love to be able to I think having that local factor, when you know someone's there and you get to meet up with them and see them and they can introduce you to other people locally, there's something to be said about that. So, you know, not only do women right now have the opportunity to do the one networking event that we do, the Lunch and Learn per month that I do, but now they have the opportunity to attend all the chapters. So you could go to the Toronto chapter or the, you know, Arizona chapter or the Chicago, Illinois chapter, and there are different times throughout the month so that you could attend several networking events if you wanted to. I mean, the key really, Kay, is to meet and create collaborations with other
Right.
people, period. It's not a it's not a one and done. It
Mhm.
really isn't. It's consistent. It's why I wrote the book, Stepping in the Spotlight to Expand Your Influence to Attract the Right Customers. This is all about how do you keep expanding your influence? How do you keep showing up everywhere? And that's what I do in several different ways. It's not linear, right? I show up in so many different places, and I do that to continue expanding my influence, because the more that I expand my influence, the more that I help the ladies within Lead Up for Women to meet more women, to have more opportunities with other businesses, for more collaborations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How did you build your community before you started the chapters? How did you get all these women from all over the world to find out about you?
When I started, I didn't have women all over the world. I just had women all over the nation. And so I have been networking for my entire life. I love meeting people. I stay in contact with the people I meet and I nurture contact. So I really care about people. I don't just, do a like on social media. I send them messages, I have phone calls, I meet them at conferences, I go to networking events, and then I'm connecting with them in between, connecting with them before I show up at the next networking event. So when you build strong collaborations and connections with people and nurture them, then when you go do something, they want to know what it's all about and they want to be part of it, right? Because they know, like, and trust you. And I can't share that enough with people that it's not just quick. You can't just get out there and be like, oh, I'm just going to. But you said you've been an entrepreneur for 40 years. You don't just boom, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do. And it's just going to be, huge empire overnight. No, I started with a lot of names on my list because I had met these people so many years ago. But then over time, I just kept building, meeting new people, having them schedule calls with me. I would schedule calls with them. I would ask their permission to put them on my list. If I could send them some tips and tools every once in a while, they could opt out. They say, sure, yeah, great. So that's how I built it over time. And I've met, I look at my life now, Kay. My circle is not even close to the same circle that it was 3, 4 years ago. Not even close to the same. The people that are in my life, the people that I call, the people that are my dear friends, the ones I rely on, the ones I see the most, besides my kids, my husband, and my grandkids, there isn't very many people in my life today that were in my life 4 years ago.
Not
And
interesting.
there's just thousands of new people in my life.
Mm.
Yeah.
So as far from a time management perspective, how do you manage all that? I know in your conference we did some like time blocking, which I do on my calendar as well. But do you kind of carve out a little bit of time each day to reach out to people and so that you can keep those relationships up?
I do. I
Um,
do. And I'm a big time blocker and it doesn't work for everyone, but it's a skill to me that I actually built in corporate America because I remember when I first started, there was times where, as executives, when you wanted to have meetings with other directors or other people in the office, you would pull up a calendar on a certain date and invite people. And then you would look at the calendar to see when people were free. And then you kind of pick the one that had the most of everyone free, if you remember that.
right.
So that's the way people would do it when they were booking me as well into meetings. The problem with that was if I didn't block myself out for lunches or certain calls that I had or projects I was working on, people would just book right over my calendar on anything that I thought I wanted to do. And at
Mhm.
that point, I realized I needed to set boundaries. So this goes both ways. And I think this is important for your listeners to hear, which is by setting your day up that's planned for how you want your day to run. Sets boundaries. So you're doing the things that you want to be doing in your business, with your family, with your life. So you set those boundaries, which is very important to give yourself that permission. But second, for me, it organizes my day. So when someone says I get up in the morning and I organize my day, I think if I had to figure out what to do every single day, that wouldn't work for me. So today I know that on, Thursday or on Friday, I need to review a certain 2 pages of my website and get those comments back to my web developer. So it's already on my calendar because they told me last week they needed it.
Right.
So I just block out my calendar and then I look at my calendar every day and I'm very present in everything I do every day. And that's just kind of how my day rolls. And so I block out personal time for myself. I block out time to follow up with people. I block out time for dinner, so I know this is my stopping point for the day. So I have to get all this stuff done beforehand. Block out lunches if I have lunches or, in that way, if I want to spend all next Friday with my grandkids, then I just block out my calendar and then no one can book on it. And then that's my permission and my day to go do something fun with my family. And I know I have the other days during the week to get completed what I need to. So again, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, isn't it, Kay? You know, having the choices in our lives to do what it is that we want to do. But I also am not good at just letting my business go to whatever may. I'm very disciplined,
Strategic
very
planning.
action
Yep.
oriented, very present, and my days are very full with
Mhm.
things that are actions to making money.
Right. Well, I love that focus, because I think a lot of us, there's a lot of to be said about finding your passion and your purpose, which is what I'm all about. And I'm in the philanthropy business, so but you have to make money too. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. And I love the fact that you just really hone in, like, okay, great, do something you're good at, something that you love, but make sure that you're making money at it. Otherwise, everything's going to go by the wayside.
You know, I have to tell you, Kate, the most successful women that I work with one on one or in group coaching sessions are the ones that are driven to want it. And they're
Mhm.
willing to take the action. They are there because they need the clarity, they need the other perspective, they need someone to be able to kind of walk the lay of the land. You know, as an entrepreneur, I have a coach myself, my coach has a coach.
Mhm.
And as entrepreneurs, we need someone to really guide us in the times that we have questions. We want to bounce ideas off of them. I think that every entrepreneur should create their own mastermind or become part of a mastermind where you're able, like you, me, Kay, and Lorraine, you know, are you kidding me? We could put together, Kay, a group of women that would just Deborah Bateman and Sharon Lecter, which would be a really strong mastermind because some of them have done some things before us and we haven't gotten there yet, right?
Right,
And
right.
so that's when it's like, well, let me tell me how you did it, because why reinvent the wheel? So we save a lot of time, we make money faster. The women that are not a good fit for Lead Up for Women or are not a good fit for working with me are women that a think they know it all.
Mm.
They have nothing more to learn. And let me tell you, if learning is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. We all know that.
I
We all know
love
that.
that
Yeah,
phrase.
we all know that. So if they think they know it all, if they think they don't need the help, you know, or they just don't believe that they don't have the money to invest in growing anything. They'll when they're in a lack mindset and they don't want to invest in anything, generally their checking account, their business checking account shows that they're just not willing to do what it takes to grow the business. You know, I went into a lot of debt the first year I launched Lead Up for Women, but it was all worth it in the end because I needed to surround myself with the right people and do the right things to grow the business. So it really takes the desire and
Mhm.
and the action, and not realize that you can just sit at home and do nothing and someone's just going to drop the plate of success in your lap. It doesn't happen that way.
No, it sure
You know,
doesn't.
it doesn't.
Okay, now you have this superpower though that I want you to share with people, and you have the ability to find money out of thin air. Give us an example.
My husband says that all the time. I'll give you an example. So I was going to be speaking at an event one time, and I paid to be a sponsor to speak at this event, and I hadn't figured out, like, yeah, I could invite them to Lead Up for Women, and I could invite them, to download the magazine and get a freebie. But out of the blue, I just created a workshop and a program overnight. Literally, I created it the day it started. So 2 hours before I spoke, I was online in my website creating, how much money it was going to cost, what it was going to be. And I didn't have any details, nothing. I didn't have any details. And I sold like 12 of those programs at that event when I spoke. All my goal was just to make back, what at first just
What you'd
was to make
spent.
back what I had spent, right, to get my investment back. And then I thought, well, why don't I just create this workshop, and this is really valuable content, and I'll sell it. And it's just a great opportunity for these women to get involved in this. And I just created something that didn't exist. I believed that I could deliver on it, even though I had not created it yet. And I sold it because I knew once I sold them that I would have the passion enough and the drive to create what I needed to create to put it together. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Kay, because that's another thing that holds a lot of us back
Mhm.
is not believing in ourselves that if I put it out there that anyone's going to want to pay for it. And that's not the truth. It's not about your worth. It's what they get the value out of what you're delivering. And so
Right.
many people hate selling because they think they're selling someone something they don't need, where you are actually creating an opportunity for someone for something that they do need. And
Mhm.
then it's for up to them to say they need it or they don't need it. They say yes or no. By you not offering it to them and afraid to sell it to them, then you're stopping that opportunity before it even starts. So it's not us to judge on what someone needs or doesn't need. It's for us to offer the opportunity to them and let them choose.
Right. Well, I don't want this to sound weird, but it almost sounds like, I think this is a good attribute of an entrepreneur, is that we can sell air as long as we know we can deliver it. Sometimes we can, like you put your package together, and if nobody wanted it, then you wouldn't have had to develop it. But when you
Correct.
almost sold air and then determined that there was a need, and then look what was born. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
And
amazing.
and I have to say, just from doing that one thing, two of those people, or one, I know two of those women came to my Leap event after that. They had never met me at that event. That was the first time they met me. They bought the package. Then they came to my Leap event. One of them is actually a sponsor. Now they're clients of mine. So do
Oh,
you see how that line, just for
sure.
me creating a low kind of hanging fruit package of something that's a workshop that they buy into, then you get them to know you, like you, trust you. They want to do more with you. And then they get to a point where they're comfortable enough to dive in the deep end, I say,
Right.
you know. Yeah.
Well, another thing that I have found, and I think that you've touched on this sometimes, is that sometimes you think you have to be, and this ties back to the women and men thing, right? Like, I have to be totally ready. I have to have 100% of my materials together. I have to have everything together. It's like, no, and I'm not sure if I'm saying their phrase right correctly, but it's something like, if you're 70% ready, go to war, and then
Yeah.
everything else
I
will
say
follow.
done is better than perfect with
Yes.
everything. So when I interview ladies for like a summit that I've done, my authors, and they said, we can do a couple takes on this and you're going to edit it, right? And I said, oh no, I'm a one done Colleen, like one take, that's it. So if we screw up in the middle, we screw up in the middle. What it does is it shows everyone how human you are.
It's
It,
true.
it you makes you relatable to other people. That's why humans are so in love with reality TV, because you get to
Mhm.
see people just being humans and not perfect actors, on a screen. So think about that. People just want you. They don't want the perfect you. When they get you, that's what they fall in love with. So that's what creates the difference between you and everyone else. It's you. And if you're not going to get out there with the raw and the authentic you, I mean, how many times, Kay, did I cry at that event? Like, how many times did things go wrong at that event, or things? It's like, you know what? I'm only human. If I feel an emotion, I'm going to share it. If
Right.
something goes wrong technically, we just have to deal with the glitches and go forward. That's not, it doesn't look bad on me. It just shows I'm human and we all struggle with the same things.
Yeah.
And so it makes you relatable to other people.
Yeah.
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 I
'Cause
never have anything completely ready when I roll it out. I have been, it's the same thing with the sanctuaries. When I started rolling those out in 2019, we did our first one. I mean, 2020, we did our first one in February. And then all five of the rest of them, COVID happened and they shut them all down. So I decided to do one in November late that year. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought of everything, renting everyone their own homes and, doing it virtually. I thought of every possible way we could do it. And I finally decided, no, we're going to come together and we're going to do this. And I didn't have it all put together on what it was going to look like that time around. It was a lot different looking than it was back in February. So I had to tweak a lot of things. There's so many things that I market. When I started marketing my 3-day event, I didn't even have my program at a glance written. I didn't have anything ready. when I marketed it. So just get it out there. If you have something on your mind or on your brain, I say once you get the date out there, once you put something out there, then everything else will, the universe goes to work and it'll start laying all the plans for you and bringing things into place when you need it. We just have to trust and take the leap.
Just take the leap. Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to share a quick little story because I'm so excited that I'm interviewing you. During the pandemic, I started interviewing powerful women that I knew. Most of them were women that I'd done charm projects with because I own charity charms. And I just started doing it as a podcast interview series. And then it grew into a book that I just wrote my first book. It's a compilation of all the interviews. It's on Amazon now, and then you will be in volume 2 with Sharon Lecter and some of the other wonderful women that I'm. And one of the common threads that I'm kind of weaving throughout it too is how important symbolism is in our lives. And this just kind of came out from my interviews. I didn't plan it. I didn't plan to do these. I didn't plan to have a book. I didn't plan to actually launch a whole new division of my company, which is all about symbols and charms. And now I've done that. So anyway, yeah, I did. Things progress, things unroll. You don't always know where they're going to go. And there's a few things that I tried that didn't work too. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of
But
things
you know
that
what?
didn't work.
That's the best part. I don't see it as failure because all big companies are built on failure, honestly, because it's the failing that happens in the areas that help us realize that's the wrong path, that
Right.
push us to another path, which creates the success. There's so many things I've rolled out and lead up that just were flat and they
Mhm.
don't work. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't work. Maybe a different time will be a best time, but right now that doesn't work.
Right.
So that's okay for us to use failure as a building block for
Mhm.
you for you to learn and to grow. I don't look at it as something that I need to sulk or, send out invitations to my pity party to or anything like that. It's like I actually almost am thankful now for failures because I realized that if that I wasn't given that sign that
Mhm.
I would have been in the wrong direction, that could have wasted even more time and even more money. So I appreciate those signs,
Right.
the
Those
failures.
signs.
Yeah.
Well, the signs around you, and you have to be open to see them and hear them. And the symbols around you of things that are important in your life that kind of can enhance your life, or may, like, if you're into butterflies, maybe a butterfly comes and flies in your window, and you're working really hard and you're all upset, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, there's a butterfly, let me just calm down.
It's
So
interesting that you said that because I get hummingbirds all the time. And I didn't even think of that until you said it. But they're always in my backyard. Every time I walk out in the backyard, they will literally just come to my face and look at me and hum a little bit and then take off. They always show up at my side window from my office at my house, which is weird because there's nothing over here for them to, fertilize or anything or eat or drink from, and they always come over to my office window. So hummingbirds are definitely a sign of mine that hang around me a lot, and I
mhm,
see them everywhere I go.
mhm. Well,
Yeah.
and our mutual friend Lorraine Tallman, for her it's butterflies.
Yes.
Even the logo in her charity is butterflies. But then there's a lot of other things besides animals, like there's flowers and scents and smells and
Yeah.
crosses, and you have a favorite flower too, don't you? That you mentioned
I
to me.
do. The daisy is, it's a purity of strength for me. The daisy is such a delicate flower, and I believe that I'm a delicate person. My feelings are delicate, even though I am very driven and very confident. I am, kind of a mush inside. Like I'm this delicate person that has feelings, and you want to be hugged by people, and you want to have friends, and so and I love the purity of white. And that's a symbolism I use a lot at the sanctuaries when I do those events, because we have to shed out everything that we are tolerating today to free ourselves up to really be able to get to the success levels that we're looking for. So there's one night and dinner that I have the chef cook this really brilliant, beautiful a dinner, and I have all the women dress in white. And it's really a symbolism of us starting our new canvas and walking out of there as a new person and leaving a lot of things there and shedding a lot of things and getting rid of things that are no longer serving us. And now walking back out into the world, feeling confident and strong and knowing what our next move is.
Mhm.
And that's how I feel a daisy is. It's not a prominent flower that people get. Like roses are strong and romantic, and even they're, when you touch a rose, it's a really strong flower. A daisy's just got these delicate little, petals, and they're not looking for a ton of attention, but they're there, and they're there, and they're beautiful.
They're
And
beautiful, and they're strong, I think, because
yeah,
the lines are strong.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
I
I love that symbolism. Thank you. Thank
I
you for sharing
remember
that with me.
I remember a florist told my husband one time, "Wow, you're lucky that your wife loves daisies. This is
Yeah.
an affordable flower." He said, "Well, my wife's an affordable woman because she builds her own wealth." So it's
That's right. She
interesting
finds money
because
out of thin air.
I do, yeah. And there's Gerber daisies and the bigger, stronger, really big, colorful daisies. But I love the white daisies. Those are definitely my favorite. I smile when I'm around them. They bring joy into my life, and they're just beautiful.
Well, we're going to have a daisy charm in the works then.
I would love that. And
Constantly
I would,
adding new fun styles as I interview people. So
yeah.
yeah, I think a daisy charm would be beautiful. So is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to share with our listeners?
I think the one thing I feel impressed to say to your listeners, Kay, is um, we all have to decide when it's our time to live the life that we desire. And I know that sounds so cliche, and I'm actually tearing up a little bit because I've met so many women that just refuse to give themselves permission to be happy and to do what it is that they love, no matter what. And I said, if working at a circus is what you love, go work at a circus. I'm serious. So when is going to be the time? And, when my husband and I flew to Cancun, I thought to myself, if we both die on this trip, right, and we're both gone, do we have everything in place for our kids to know what to do, right? We are not promised tomorrow,
Mhm,
ever. And
mhm.
if you're not promised tomorrow, and you look at what happens to people when they get a 6-month diagnosis, and then before you know it, they change their whole lives for 6 months and do all the things they've never done. Why aren't you doing that now? Why aren't you living the life that you want now? And when someone throws up a bunch of deflective excuses, that is the choice that they're making. So I just want your listeners to know, like, we all have a choice, and those choices can be really scary. So surround yourself with people that fuel your choices, that support you in your choices, that love you no matter what, that will be there for you, that will be your cheerleader, because sometimes the closest people to you and your family even aren't the ones that you thought was the ones that
Yeah.
would be the best ones. I remember when that happened to me. So do I mean, when if now's not the time, when is the time? Like,
Mhm.
you have to give yourself permission to live the life, because you just don't know when it's the last day,
Right.
or your life could completely change
Mhm.
from my husband could get in an accident, and that could change my entire life, and then I'm taking care of him, and then we don't get to go hike in Peru, in Mount Machu Picchu, that we've been wanting to do. It's like, that's on the list. We got to get out there and we got to do that. So live your life that you desire now. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because there's someone that's literally praying for you right now that you decide to take that chance.
Mm. Well, those are such words of wisdom, and actually something I really needed to hear today. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
I encourage any woman that needs a little inspiration or is thinking about starting her own business, that you've got to check out Lead Up for Women. It's leadupforwomen.com, correct?
Yes.
And there's so much rich information and a lot of just really dynamic and fun women, just great people to know. So and I think it's important to have that network of support for anybody who is trying to launch a new concept or go in a different direction. Like you said, we're all afraid and you need self-confidence, and surrounding yourself with a network of positive women.
Yeah, Kay, I'll never forget the moment that Deborah Bateman was at my lunch and learn, and I was talking afterwards, and she noticed that one of the co-hosts that was with me kind of talked over me a little bit, and she walked up to me and she looked at me and she grabbed my arm and she said, "You are something special. You do you, and you don't worry about what anyone else thinks."
Wow.
And I was like, I needed to hear that today. Thank you. And I'll never forget that. So think about that. One thing you say to another person or how you impact another person's life has brought me to soar where I am today. Because in that moment on that day, I felt like I just wanted to crawl in a little cave and, just kind of melt away. But
Right.
she was like, "I'm not going to let you."
Sometimes it
So
just takes one person believing in you or saying
yeah,
something positive, and it can totally change your whole life.
yeah.
So, well, thank you so much today for all that you've shared with us.
Thanks.
And I look forward to interacting with you and your organization and having lots of fun in the future together.
Absolutely, Kay. Thanks.
So, thank you so much.